All right, let's get some more analysis on Joe Biden's address to the nation earlier on Monday. Shafiq Hamdam joins me now from Washington. He's a former senior advisor to NATO. Shafiq, good to have you on the show. What did you make of the president's speech?
It was, I would say, plainly, it was rubbish. It was nothing but blaming other people for his, mistakes. And he did not take any responsibility. I don't see a big difference between what he has said today and what President Ghani has done, betraying his entire, nation. So he is playing this game primarily because, he said things, he made a decision which is absolutely wrong. But people understand that, you can do mistakes, but you have to come brave and accept that and recover those. What happens now, I'm afraid a lot that, in this game of blaming and denial or pushing back, we will risk more lives, including like 6,000 troops that has been sent to Afghanistan in the middle of, crisis inside Kabul city. I don't know what's going to happen if the local people, thousands of these people flood in and leak and I would say spill over to the U.S., facility where there's Turkish as well, other NATO troops. Would they respond to these troops, to these local people? Will they shoot at them? Or will these people will harm them? If, God forbid, such situation happens, who is taking responsibility? I think this is responsibility of President Biden, and he cannot escape that by making these statements and trying to, I would say, through his responsibility on others' shoulders.
Okay. Up until 3 years ago, you were also the former deputy advisor to President Ashraf Ghani. What do you make of his fleeing the country?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, when I was working for him, my mission, my aim was I was working on the United Nations affair and international affair. It was peace and reconciliation primarily was my desire and dream. And I saw that, this individual is not interested in political settlements. And Biden knew this as well anyway, because he had all these information, these reports. He had his meeting before the collapse of Afghanistan. And he, as he said today, that, he saw President Ghani does not have any intention to do peace. Then it was very obvious if he did not want to do peace, Taliban would overthrow him. But he still continued with his decision. Let the Afghan people be in the crisis. And I would say I'm as much ashamed of President Ghani's action of abandoning his nation and leaving and departing, as much as I'm ashamed of today's President Biden's speech for, not taking any responsibility. But let's, agree that Afghanistan is different than the United States. People here will set him accountable. And I think it will cost his party, the Democrats, and it can even cost him, for the second round, if hopefully not, if the situation goes wrong, especially if those 5,000 to 6,000 troops in Afghanistan, if they engage in any kind of, I would say, military-wise or armed interfere with either Taliban or local people.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, how do you think U.S.-Taliban relations are likely to develop in the near future?
I think, it's very clear. There's no relation, there's no friendship. It's just a deal of two hostile, one hostile group in a state. So far, I do not see any improvement between the United States and Taliban. And I think one thing to be very clear, there is ongoing negotiation in Qatar. I think it's now time for Mr. Khalilzad to let Afghan people decide. And if the United States want to decide, they have to decide the Afghan people. First, let the Afghan people choose and elect or select whatever you call it, or through whatever process. It has to be an Afghan-owned system and government, and then engage in negotiating with them and engage in negotiating if you want to recognize them officially. That's your right. But at this moment, until they do not have that legitimacy, they do not have that recognition, then I think it's also a very big mistake to engage with them and talk about the legitimacy, forming a government and system. I think enough is enough. These systems, these structures should not be imposed and come from outside. This time, we do not want another excuse for another group to raise up or Taliban to, again, pick arm against local civilians. So the best thing is to let the Afghan people to decide about their future. There are processes, there are legal institutions. nothing still. We do have that tradition of loya jirgas and gatherings and grand councils that we can deal with and we can resolve the issue. But if we have these obstacles out of our ways.
All right. Shafiq Hamdam, thank you very much for coming on. I do appreciate your analysis.